The supernatural and the divine. Introduction. If one poses the question whether Buddhism affirms the existence of supernatural phenomena and celestial beings, the answer, based on literal evidence in the Tipitaka and other scriptures, is unequivocally yes. Scriptural confirmation for this reply is extensive and abundant. Having said this, it is difficult for people to reach an agreement or consensus on whether these things truly exist or not. Many people feel that a belief in these things has harmful consequences, a viewpoint that has led some scholars to interpret these phenomena in a metaphorical way. It is not necessary here to examine these interpretations at length. Even if one accepts the literal interpretation that these things exist, the Buddhist teachings contain adequate safeguards to help prevent superstitious beliefs or an obsessive need to prove the validity of the supernatural. Many people from the ancient past to the present day have believed in or feared ghosts, spirits, divine powers, the mystical and the miraculous. Buddhism boldly asserts the existence of these things while declaring a freedom for humans in relation to them. The Buddhist teachings set forth principles that help people benefit from their relationship to supernatural phenomena. At the very least, upholding these principles causes less harm than trying to discover incontestable proof for the existence or non-existence of such things. It is important to know what these Buddhist principles are and how to apply them to daily life. Buddhism is not interested in the debate whether supernatural phenomena and divine beings truly exist or not, and it discourages people from wasting time trying to prove the existence of these things. Buddhism is interested rather in people's attitude and proper conduct in relation to the supernatural. In Buddhism, it is less important to know whether gods, spirits, ghosts, psychic powers, or miracles exist than to know, assuming that these things do exist, what sort of bearing they have on human life, and to know the proper relationship to them. Some people may encounter that one cannot know how to properly relate to these things until one has first proven their existence. But it is precisely the obsessive desire to prove the existence or non-existence of these things that has led to so much unskillful behavior in relation to them. And to this day, no definitive proof has been found either way. Supernatural phenomena, including psychic powers and divine beings, are unprovable. It is impossible to offer indisputable evidence for their existence or non-existence. Believers in these things are unable to convince non-believers of their existence, while disbelievers are likewise unable to present clear-cut evidence to believers of their non-existence, whereby these latter people relinquish any lingering belief in their validity. Both parties abide on the level of faith or belief. They believe these things exist, or believe they do not exist, or they outright reject their existence. Even if one has truly witnessed these things, one is unable to accurately share this realization with others. Apart from there being no undisputed proof that these things exist or do not exist, these things are elusive or evasive, Occasionally, an exciting trace of these things leads to a feeling of certainty in their existence. But as soon as one tries to capture the phenomenon, the feeling proves unsatisfactory. Even at times when a person feels convinced of these things' existence, doubts arise. The more one searches for them, the more elusive they become. The more elusive they are, the more fascinating they become. An obsession with supernatural phenomena may thus lead people to almost drift away from this world. Efforts to prove the existence of such unverifiable and mysterious phenomena are a waste of time and energy and create all kinds of problems, both individual and social. As long as effort is being expended on the futile search for definitive proof, believers and disbelievers argue with one another. They refute each other's theories, cause discord, and on end up going their own ways. They are unable to modify their attitudes and behavior because they are waiting for conclusive evidence, which never comes. No true consensus or unity is ever reached. On a social or political level, lack of consensus or agreement on these issues may lead to coercion or even persecution. Believers may then force non-believers into adopting a particular faith. Conversely, non-believers may prohibit believers from practicing their beliefs, as is seen in some political ideologies that hold entirely to the scientific method. If government officials in such political systems think that people who hold foolish or superstitious beliefs, they may force the people to abandon their beliefs and to adopt the state ideology of repudiation of supernatural phenomena. But this coercion does not solve the problem at its source. It does not clear people from doubt. Force merely leads to a suppression of faith. Such control can be maintained as long as the force or persuasion is strong, but as soon as these weaken, the suppressed faith sprouts, blossoms, and spreads. And when this happens, the beliefs and practices may be as irrational, directionless, and harmful as before, without having been attended to and corrected. From one perspective, the supernatural exists primarily as a set of beliefs in the minds of unawakened persons, and these beliefs are liable to fluctuation. Some people originally repudiate the supernatural and look upon believers with contempt, but after they have what they believe to be a mystical experience, their perspective shifts completely and they become zealous believers. Without access to teachings clarifying a proper relationship to these things, they become more spellbound and preoccupied with them than those who believe from the beginning. Likewise, some people who have had a firm faith in these things later have an experience suggesting the object of their faith is unsatisfactory or uncertain, and as a consequence their faith is shaken or they become outright disbelievers. This being the case, many people are caught up with the question whether these things exist or not, while at the same time they lack practical measures that help to prevent the harm in holding fixed beliefs and opinions. Buddhism emphasizes practical considerations. It teaches those things that every person can apply and benefit from, suitable to their individual level of maturity and ability. In reference to supernatural phenomena, Buddhism offers clear teachings. The emphasis is on one's relationship to them and on knowing one's reasons for adopting certain attitudes and behavior in relation to them. In other words, it is not crucial to believe or disbelieve in these things. Rather, a person should develop a proper relationship to them. Both believers and non-believers can follow the Buddhist principles on this subject. If they do, their conduct in relation to questions of the supernatural will differ in only a negligible way. Furthermore, this conduct will benefit both parties of believers and disbelievers, because each side will develop mutual care and consideration. Believers will uphold their faith in a way that does not cause harm to themselves or others, while non-believers will respect believers and may be able to advise them on how to relate to the objects of their faith constructively. This principle of balanced practice of establishing an appropriate attitude and relationship to things that cannot be proven and need not be directly realized for spiritual fulfillment is a unique characteristic of Buddhism, distinguishing it from other religions and philosophies, including modern ideologies. When based on these proper principles, there is no harm in searching for proof of supernatural phenomena. If people have this special interest and do not cause trouble to others, then we can maintain an open mind to such a pursuit. It can be seen as similar to research in other fields of knowledge. Because matters concerning the supernatural are unprovable, people's attitude and relationship to these things is crucial. And because these things exist primarily as a set of beliefs in people's minds, the particular belief in either the existence or non-existence of these things is of minor importance. In some, the existence or non-existence of supernatural phenomena, including divine beings and psychic powers, have little bearing on the key teachings and tenets of Buddhism. Even though miracles and divine beings are claimed by the scriptures to exist, the practice and highest realization of Buddhism is possible without a person having any engagement with these things. In relation to this subject, the Buddha said, the Buddha, what do you think, Shunakata, whether I perform miracles which are qualities of supreme persons or not? Does the Dhamma that I have taught to reach the goal lead to the total destruction of suffering? Shunakata, Lord, whether the Lord performs miracles which are qualities of supreme persons or not, the Dhamma that the Blessed One has taught to reach the goal leads to the total destruction of suffering. The Buddha, what do you think, Shunakata, whether I make known that which is considered the origin of the world or not? Does the Dhamma that I have taught to reach the goal lead to the total destruction of suffering? Shunakata, Lord, whether the Lord makes known that which is considered the origin of the world or not, the Dhamma that the Blessed One has taught to reach the goal leads to the total destruction of suffering.